Good morning. Welcome to World of Work Wednesday. Good morning, Mr. Davidson. Good morning, Mr. Treece. We got building construction today, right?
Yes, sir. Good morning. This is Mr. Ricky Treece, and we are in the woodworking carpentry shop. This is sort of the second week that we've talked about building construction and how that component really falls under, this program falls under the larger cluster of architecture and construction, which that program cluster is just a ginormous cluster of different programs that we have here at EBCOT that link up with a lot of jobs that would be in those fields that are very high in demand. And we're going to talk about different things. And I'm just looking around the room and looking at a little bit of geometry and measurements and ruler, measuring tape, different things that I see just in this classroom. And then we're going to take a tour out to the shop and show you some things that he's got in the woodworking shop. One thing about it that you might not think of before we get out there is he's got a big machine out there that runs off of a computer, a computer. I guess it's a milling machine,
CNC wood, CNC wood.
So you can program things in very similarly to what we saw down in the welding shop a couple of weeks ago, where you program it in with a computer. You may even work with a drafting design team, and then those actually are made through computerized woodworking tools. So this is a very hands-on, skill-based program that you can use a lot of woodworking tools with your hands, a lot of mind, but also some computers. So wanted to preview that. Three other things, Mr. Colvin, that I wanted to mention before I turn it over to Mr. Treece, just so that these are things that we start talking about as we move on out of just what we're doing here at EBCOT, and we look at some other things, because in a few weeks we've got some other directions we're headed. So I'm going to give you a couple of terms I want everybody to sort of consider as we go along. One of those is personal protective equipment like PPE. And we live in a world now that we're getting very common, or we're getting accustomed to having to wear a face mask. But in a shop like this, even before the pandemic or anything over the past few months that we've had to change with PPE, a shop like Mr. Treece's, it was very important that when you walked into a shop like this, you had the proper PPE, which was something over your eyes, something in your ears, and something probably either covering your hands or your mouth, or something that, some type of filter if you were using certain chemicals. So that is something that has always been and will always be a part of career tech programs, is PPE, knowing those proper protective equipment for your personal protection. And those go into like lab settings. Even in a chemistry lab, we know we talk about safety, Mr. Calvin. Right. So we wanted students to be aware that those are common things that the career tech world is accustomed to prior to and post pandemic. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, and I talked to Mr. Jeff Tubbs yesterday, and he is the career tech director in Scottsboro City, and we've got Scottsboro High School students that come here just like Braxton when he was in our video with HVAC. He and I were talking about some ways that we can continue to develop something called simulated workplace learning, where you get students that are coming into a career tech field and they're getting simulation of what it feels like to be an employee into a company. And one of those is checking in, checking out through with a QR code on a badge, almost like attendance. I know a lot of your students will either have their name called this morning in the class and they'll say, I'm here, or present, or they've already had that in their class. But in the world of simulated workplace, students will just key in. And we've got, what brought that to my attention is Mr. Treece has his little iPad docking station over here in the classroom. Students come in, they scan in, that is his attendance. So he knows who's here. I know who's here, and that's a process just like simulation if you were going into a job. Because most of the parents this morning, when they go to work, they're not having a roll call, but they have to have that accountability of good attendance. And then the last thing that I want to mention, I'll turn it over to him, is something called work-based learning. It's WBL. It's also known as the traditional word of co-oping. And a lot of the students are aware that co-oping is something that we've had in Jackson County Schools for many years. Miss Beth Haynes is the co-op director. Maybe we'll get a week with her here in a few weeks to talk about some of the opportunities for co-op, and that's why I want to preview that one with us. But just to let all the high school students know that this is a new semester. Most of the schedules have been worked out, but if any student decided at Christmas that they were finished with their courses and they wanted to co-op, all co-op students throughout Jackson County, whether they went to EBCOT or not, all the co-op process still filters through Miss Beth Haynes. So just wanted to bring those three things up, Mr. Coleman, and preview those. And if you have any questions about any of those type things, you can ask me or filter the questions through the chat box. Mr. Treece is going to talk to you, and then I'll be monitoring, and then we'll be walking around the shop.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, hello, I'm Ricky Treece. I've been in building construction most of my life. I built houses. I was the owner of Treece Construction and tiny homes. We've done a lot of tiny homes. We've done remodeling. I've done a lot of factory remodels and plants in the factory industry. We do a little bit of everything here from ground up. We try to teach them framing. We do sheetrock, teach them roofing. We do residential electricals and plumbing. We do cabinet making. We just about anything that's in the construction field. We try to give them a little bit of knowledge on that, and they can pretty much decide on what they want to do in their life. There's so much that they can do in the construction field, like painting, sheetrock finishing. Because when you go into the industry for construction, there's so much that they can do. They can do, like, instead of just going in and doing the whole house, they have people who does just sheetrock, just painting, just stuff like that. General contractor will hire different people to do the house. There's so much involved in a house or anything whenever they're doing it. So many different people that's involved in it. But we can go out now and show you the shop and show you what all we do and all the machinery.
Before we leave the classroom, I wanted to show you that we mentioned this thing called NCCR Core a couple of times.
Yes.
NCCR Core is the curriculum that is aligned with the architecture and construction program that leads to a credential. There are textbooks very similar to what you would have in an English, history, or math class. A lot of the program or a lot of their curriculum is also online. But NCCR Core, like he was talking about, is an introduction. This class, when you first begin as a 10th grader or a first-time student, you'd be introduced to many craft skills, and a lot of those skills will then splinter off, and you could specialize in one of those areas that he talked about. But at least going through this core program, you're introduced to everything that could possibly fall under that umbrella. But we're headed out into the shop. Let me know if it becomes noisy or if you can't hear. We've got some heaters on out here, and it is a larger shop.
Mr. Davidson, while y'all are walking, what are, I know we always talk about this a little bit, but what doors do those credentials, the NCCR credentials, open up?
There's just so many doors that can open up. Like I said, there's so many different things that you can do in the construction field, and there's so many jobs they could come in here and see, get a hands-on feel of what they would like to do in their life, and just stick to that if they wanted to. And there's pretty good money to be made. They start average construction workers anywhere from $39,000 to $50,000, and there's just so much they can do.
If someone though got in, and you mentioned the money right there, and I know that's always something our kids want to hear about. Let's say you get to the point where you own your own company or anything like that. How big can this be for people?
This could be as big as you want it. I own my own company, and I had as many as I could say 12 at one time, 12 employees. So, but you can get as big as you want to. You can. It depends on if you want to be a general contractor or what you want to do.
And depending on what craft you go into, there are different union specialties. I mean, you can join a labor union for carpentry. You can join a labor union for plumbing, pipe fitting, electrical,
anything.
Become a journeyman, work for yourself, work for a corporation. So the skills that you get in this.
Basically, if you're in building construction, you're gonna have an idea of where you can go in lots of different places. You're not going to be limited to one thing. You're going to be able to splinter off and specialize however you want to later on. You can have a really good foundation set.
Yes. And if you look around some of our larger employers in the county, that they're begging for employees right now. They're not just hiring someone that has one skill set. They're looking for that multi-craft skill set so that they can put them, especially when they're first hired in. That's one thing that kids think is, oh, I'm going to be hired in and I'm going to be making what my parents make, or somebody that's worked on the job 20 years.
Right.
As a craftsman, you enter that field as a laborman, and then you work your way up and you specialize, you get more skilled in that certain area, and that's going to lead to higher pay over the long run.
There's so many different jobs. Say the school board education, they've got carpenters. I mean, people that does carpentry and stuff in there. There's plants, so much manufacturing industry that has needs carpenters and people to work on their stuff there, like buildings and things. So that even the courthouse. I mean, there's just so much they can do.
Absolutely.
And here's just, I mean, there's just a couple of small things they've done.
Couple of projects on the table here.
Just, yeah, the newer students.
Got some wood bowls on this side. It looks like some.
Somebody started.
Yeah, this is a wood lay.
We've got 3 of the saw stops. They're real good table saws.
Are you familiar with the saw stop, Mr. Collins? Anybody ever heard of one of these?
Now tell us about it.
So I'm not going to demonstrate, but supposedly, I guess it's true. It's based on the manufacturer that it will do what?
This saw right here, you can see on some of the videos and stuff, you can put a hot dog on there and it'll just automatically shut the blade down. It won't even put a mark on your finger. So if anybody accidentally puts a finger or something in it, it'll shut it down.
The technology that's behind that to sense something that would be skin-like texture or a finger would automatically stop the saw.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We've got 3. I mean, we've got one of the best. I've heard that this is the best shop in the state of Alabama. I mean, it's got top-notch machines. It's got stuff that you can do anything you wanted to do here.
That's a pretty awesome opportunity then for our kids.
And to know there's a lot of woodworking going on in this shop, there's not a lot of dust. He's got a filtration system. I can't really pull the camera up to the ceiling too much, but can you see the ventilation that takes the dust work out of the shop?
Yes.
Talk to them about the house.
This is one of the buildings that we built. From this, they have learned framing, painting. They've been able to learn roofing, just about anything in the construction field, as far as building a house or something. We're right now in the process of building a porch on the front of it. But we plan on what we hope to do. I've got a lot of people who've been calling me wanting to do the tiny homes, and when we get over to the new school, I hope maybe when we get this one out here, we might start building on one.
Right.
Doing a complete inside refinish on one. And
that'd be really cool right there if you can do that.
But as far as being able to do it, I've got people lined up wanting us to do it. So we're just trying to get everything took care of. And
right.
And some other systems that I've been to and visited, what will happen is you'll have several companies, for instance, a local Home Depot or a local building supply company that would sponsor different teams, and throughout the semester, different groups of teams of students would work on a tiny house or a project. And then at the end, they would auction those off, and whoever basically auctions the highest auction price for that project would be your winner. But again, it built a collaboration between the community, the suppliers, and then again, those are auctioned off usually to some type of government entity or an individual that wants to buy them. I know he built some dog houses this semester for the city of Scottsboro.
Yep. And we also have dual enrollment. We do that here, and they get to come at night. So
yeah, dual enrollment through Northeast with Mr. Treece is something that we started within the last 2 years. He also has worked closely before really the pandemic really hit, but with the Home Builders Association.
Home Builders Association, we had classes here. They can come to it.
And the Home Builders Association is more of an adult-oriented program after school for adults that want to come back. And basically, they have been out into a field that was not in construction. They need those skills, or they need to fine tune some things before they are
So if our students have parents or siblings or anybody like that who's older, that's something they can tell them about at home. Hey, you may have an opportunity to do this if you're interested in that.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
if you've got a parent or a sibling or anybody interested in getting into this, that's a good opportunity for them.
Right.
Yeah, we have a paint room over here. We've got
The paint room's in the closet.
in the closet. We have the radio alarm saws.
Can you hear us, Mr. Colvin?
Yes.
There's our filter where we filter all the sawdust and stuff out. And we have a sander. This is one of the big sanders that you can sand like tabletops or anything like that on it.
Wow, that's impressive.
And we do have these big routers over here. And what they do is we could take a cabinet door. I'll show you one of the cabinet doors. There's some cabinet doors that we can make with that right here. And we have this shaper over here. This shaper can make a door like an entrance door into your house, like a house door.
Right.
Makes all the cuts and the routers for it. We got the two band saws. We got these scroll saws. We've got 3 of them. And then we got our CNC rooms. Here's some of the chairs that they've made. Right here. They make them and sell them.
When are y'all making and selling those again? I need to pick a couple up.
When are you making some more Adirondack?
We just take an order. If however many somebody wants, we'll make them. And
Best way to contact you would be through an email.
yeah.
Mr. Treece at jacksonkk12.org.
Okay.
And then this is our CNC room. This is one of the cabinets, kitchen cabinets that they've made. It's kind of rustic.
Right.
And this right here is our CNC machine. As you can see, this is
Can you see that?
Yes.
kind of on 3D. And this is the letters. Everything just fits perfect. You can take a whole cabinet and program it in, and it'll cut the whole cabinet out, and it just goes together. And you don't even just glue it. You don't even have to nail it. You can drop it on the floor, and it won't even fall apart.
Wow.
It's just so tight. Everything fits so tight. And this is something good to be. There's so many of these, and some of these plants stuff around Scottsboro CNC machines. Lozier has them. Different plants do. And it's something that would be really big and good for them. They'll learn to program them. Over there's our computer. This is the cabinet they built.
So
Right here, it's got our tools in the bottom.
So like if somebody had a logo or something like that, could y'all just put that logo into the machine and it make that, be able to have that?
Yes. You can do a logo. You can even take and program somebody's picture into the computer, and it'll cut it out. It'll cut that picture, their face and everything out to look just like them.
This shop right here, basically what we talked about over the past few weeks that sort of put all 3 of those things together is it's actually 4 shops if you think about it a different way. But you take Miss Tammy Clark's drafting and design class where they draft or find images and they design the product. Then they send it off to be either milled through a metal type machine where it would be with Mr. Jordan Kane and the precision machining where it would be made out of aluminum or some type of metal. Or it could go to another metal shop in the welding program because of the way that the plasma welders set up are now. And then if it's made out of wood, it would come to Mr. Treece in a shop like this. So depending on your material, after it's designed or engineered, then it can go to or whatever type of material, it can go to those different shops.
This is one of the best CNC machines they are made, and it's unlimited what it'll do. It's you can do just about anything.
What kind of questions are we getting,
Don't
Mr.
have
Dunn?
any in there right now, but guys, any questions you guys have? Anybody out there anywhere? Okay, one question, would a junior be able to take this class next year? I think y'all are in a
Say that
spot.
again.
You may be buffering a little bit. The question. Okay,
Let me go back into the other shot.
you got two questions now. One of them you touched a little bit on. What is a typical salary? The other one is, would a junior be able to take this class next year?
Absolutely. Sophomore, juniors, seniors can all take this class. We've had first year students that came as a 10th grader and they were 3 years into the program. We've had first year students come as a junior, and we just got a student this year for the first time that's a senior. So he can put them into the program at any level. It is a program that is available to anybody that comes to Epcot. And again, that starts in 10th grade.
This machine, this CNC machine was talking about, their salary now would probably be around, I would say $70,000 to $80,000. But this machine would do more than just wood. You can do plastic. I went to a shop in Tennessee, and it builds parts for Toyota, for the rubber plastic parts, and it'll come out like you can put like a 4x8 sheet on there, and it'll cut out probably 200 or 300 parts just in a little while.
Wow, that's amazing.
Take long enough.
And another thing, Mr. Cobb, that I want everybody to sort of keep in mind, a lot of the tools that he has here, and a lot of tools are the beginning steps of any program that we have. Start in career explorations if those students will take those at the high schools that have ag programs. For our 7th and 8th grade students, I promise he would, if he could get a kid that's went through an ag program that's been introduced to a bandsaw or a sander or some of this other equipment, then that time when they're here as a 10th, 11th, or 12th grade student, they can get in there and get into that milling machine a lot quicker because they have the foundation versus spending a year or two down here learning the foundation that they probably should have gotten while they were in their ag program. So encourage everybody to take home ag facts at their home school in 7th and 8th grade, explore those pathways, and then at least be introduced to the tools, equipment, and some of the processes before you come to any of the programs that we have here.
Okay, and I know earlier you guys said, I think Miss Jones, I don't know if you, Miss Jones at North Sand Mountain had the question about salary. I don't know if you were on yet when Mr. Treece said earlier. I think just a typical construction worker, you're looking anywhere about 39 to 50,000 a year, and then you get into where you're specializing on the stuff like he just said. You make a lot more. You get to where you're owning your own company and bidding out jobs. The sky's the limit.
Yep.
You get to where you own your own company, like a general contractor or something, you're going to make 100 to 200,000 a year.
Right.
And this is a high demand, low. This is not going to lead you to, you have to move to California at a particular company, or you have to drive all the way to Huntsville or Chattanooga. There are people that's looking for people that have this skill set every day in Jackson County.
Even at Google, I mean, those guys are going to be building for years to come.
Absolutely. Hey, try to build a house right now. Try to add on to your house. Try to hire somebody to come in and redo a bathroom. Try it. See where you get.
When I was out in the industry and had my own company, it was hard to find anybody to work. I mean,
right.
There just wasn't any out there. There's a big demand for them.
So going to that, because this is the one thing I hear from people I know in construction is keeping people employed, keeping people hired, and all that. What are the characteristics that you need to see, that employers need to see, to make sure that you're able to keep a job in something like this?
Well, they're telling, even when with me, all the people that I know, they want somebody who's going to show up and be there. Somebody can read a tape measure, and if you need them, like a lot of jobs, you're fixing to finish a job and you need them to work some overtime to get that job finished so they can go on to the next job. They're looking for employees that'll do that.
Right.
They want those same skill sets that we taught. They're those soft skills, being able to communicate, show up, pass a drug test, get along with others, and be able to just basically, the skills will come with time, with training, with just being around somebody. You don't have to come as a 30-year carpenter to get a job. You just have to be willing to show up, do a job, do it right. And
I think you guys had a sign up in the shop in there said quality is not an act, it's a habit. I think that pretty much sums it up. Okay, and guys, if you're out there listening in 7th and 8th grade, and even you high school kids, the habits you create today, whether on doing your schoolwork, on all those things, on taking a little bit of pride in your performance and pride in what you're turning in, that all translates directly into this.
absolutely.
Because you're creating those habits now and that work ethic now that's gonna determine, am I gonna go in there and just halfway do something and not really worry if it's off a little bit? Well, if you're going to work on somebody's house, they want it done right. And I think that's what he's talking about right there when he's got that quote up. So I really like that this morning.
Anybody else have any questions for us?
Don't look like we have any more questions this morning. We appreciate you guys very much.
Absolutely.
BMS, hang around after we stop the recording. Everybody else have a great day.
Bye-bye.